If Marcus had gotten into that car 5 minutes later, the rest of his life would have been completely different. Because in those exact 5 minutes, the driver made the biggest decision of his life. Marcus Chin stood at the intersection of Highway 80 and Route 35 in rural Pennsylvania, watching the digital clock on the old gas station flicker from 3:47 p.m. to 3:48 p.m. His ride had dropped him off 20 minutes ago with a cheerful, "Good luck, kid," and now he was alone with his backpack and his thumb, hoping someone would stop before the afternoon turned into evening. The October air carried the scent of dying leaves and the promise of an early winter. Marcus pulled his jacket tighter and adjusted his backpack straps, calculating distances in his head. Pittsburgh was still 60 miles away, and he'd promised his sister Emma he'd be there by 7 for her birthday dinner. But Marcus had no idea that those 3 minutes of waiting would change everything. At 3:49, a delivery truck rumbled by without even glancing in his direction. At 3:48, a blue Honda Civic approached from the east, slowing down as the driver spotted Marcus. But at the last second, the car accelerated past him, the driver apparently changing his mind about picking up a hitchhiker. It was 3:51 p.m. exactly when the silver sedan pulled over. At 3:50, Marcus checked his phone and saw a text from Emma. "Still coming tonight? Made your favorite cake." He was typing back, "On my way," when he heard the sound of an engine approaching from behind. Marcus jogged toward the car, grateful that someone had finally stopped. Through the passenger window, he could see the driver, a man in his 30s with dark hair and a tired expression, wearing what looked like a business suit. "Where you headed?" the driver asked, rolling down the window. "Pittsburgh, if you're going anywhere near there," Marcus replied. The driver nodded. "Perfect. I'm going right through downtown. Hop in." "Thanks for stopping," Marcus said, buckling his seatbelt. "I'm Marcus." Marcus opened the passenger door and slid into the seat, immediately grateful for the warmth and the classical music playing softly on the radio. "David," the driver replied, pulling back onto the highway. "David Morrison." But there were subtle things about David that didn't quite add up. As they drove through the Pennsylvania countryside, David seemed like exactly the kind of person you'd want to share a long car ride with. He was articulate, well-traveled, and genuinely interested in Marcus's stories about life on the road. He asked thoughtful questions about hitchhiking, about the places Marcus had been, about his family. His hands shook slightly when he reached for his coffee cup. He checked his rearview mirror more often than normal highway driving would require. And twice, Marcus noticed David glancing at his phone with an expression that seemed more like anxiety than casual interest. "You seem a little on edge," Marcus said after they'd been driving for about an hour. "Long day at work?" David laughed, but it sounded forced. "You could say that. I'm driving to Pittsburgh to make a decision that's going to change everything." "What kind of decision?" David was quiet for a long moment, staring at the road ahead. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, heavier, more uncertain. "Have you ever been in a situation where you knew you had to do something, but you weren't sure you had the courage to actually do it?" Marcus considered the question. "I think everyone has moments like that. What's yours about?" But David's answer would reveal something Marcus never expected. "I'm supposed to meet someone in Pittsburgh tonight," David said slowly. "Someone who's been, let's call it, pressuring me to do things I don't want to do. And today, I finally decided I'm not going to let him control my life anymore." David reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a small digital recorder, setting it on the dashboard between them. "For 3 years, I've been recording our conversations. Every threat, every demand, every time he told me what would happen to my family if I didn't cooperate. I finally have enough evidence to put him away forever." Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with the October weather. "What kind of threats?" "David, who exactly are you supposed to meet tonight?" David's knuckles were white as he gripped the steering wheel. "The kind that involve people disappearing. The kind that involve families getting hurt. The kind that make you realize you're not just afraid for yourself anymore." The pieces of a much larger puzzle were starting to come together, But Marcus wasn't sure he wanted to see the complete picture. Marcus had heard of Vincent Caruso. Even people who didn't follow organized crime knew that name. Federal investigations suspected connections to everything from money laundering to murder, but never enough evidence to make charges stick. Vincent Caruso. Maybe you've heard of him on the news. They call him a businessman, but everyone in Pittsburgh knows what he really is. You work for him? Worked, past tense, as of about 6 hours ago when I cleaned out my office and decided I was done being his accountant. But David's revelation was just the beginning of what Marcus would learn. The thing is, David continued, Vincent doesn't know I'm coming to turn him in. He thinks I'm coming to give him the financial records he's been demanding, the ones that would implicate some very powerful people in some very illegal activities. Alone and terrified out of my mind, David admitted. But talking to you, telling someone else what I'm about to do, it's making me feel like maybe I actually have the courage to go through with it. Marcus looked at the briefcase, then back at David. And if you hadn't picked me up, you'd be driving to this meeting alone. David gestured toward a briefcase in the back seat. Those records are in there, along with 3 years of recorded conversations, and enough evidence to bring down his entire operation. That's when Marcus understood the true significance of those 5 crucial minutes. David, what would have happened if you'd lost your nerve? If you'd turned around and gone back? David's expression darkened. Vincent's been escalating his threats. Last week he sent someone to my daughter's school. Didn't do anything, just stood there watching her play on the playground. The message was clear. How old is your daughter? 7. Her name is Sophie. David's voice broke slightly. She asked me why I've been so sad lately. I told her Daddy was just thinking about some important work stuff. Marcus realized he was witnessing a man at the most crucial crossroads of his life. The decision to stand up to Vincent Caruso wasn't just about David's career or even his safety. It was about his daughter's future. What changed your mind? What made you finally decide to fight back? Sophie made this for me yesterday. It's a picture of our family, and she wrote, "My daddy is brave" at the bottom. David's eyes were bright with unshed tears. I realized that if I don't do something now, she's going to grow up thinking brave means living in fear. David pulled a small photo from his shirt pocket and showed it to Marcus. It was a little girl with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile, holding a crayon drawing. Why? But the most dangerous part of David's plan was still ahead. The meeting is supposed to happen at Vincent's restaurant downtown. Public place, lots of witnesses, which is why I thought it would be safer. But I've been having second thoughts about that strategy. Have you talked to the FBI about this? Because Vincent owns that restaurant, controls everyone who works there, and has people watching every entrance and exit. If he suspects I'm wearing a wire or planning to betray him. David didn't finish the sentence, but Marcus understood the implication. David, is there anything I can do to help? Agent Sarah Collins has been my contact for 6 months. She's the one who suggested I gather more evidence before making any formal accusations. But David, he paused, realizing he'd used his own name in third person. Sorry, I'm more nervous than I thought. Agent Collins is meeting me at the restaurant, but she'll be undercover. If something goes wrong, the weight of the situation was starting to sink in for Marcus. He wasn't just getting a ride to Pittsburgh. He was accompanying a man who was about to risk everything to bring down one of the most dangerous criminals in Pennsylvania. I know enough. I know you're trying to protect your daughter and do the right thing. That's all I need to know. David looked at him with surprise. You'd do that? You don't even know me. But David's request would put Marcus in more danger than either of them realized. Actually, there is something. Vincent knows I always travel alone. If I show up with someone else, it might throw him off balance. Make him think this is just a normal business meeting. David explained his plan. Marcus would pose as a potential investor. Someone David had met on the road who was interested in learning about Vincent's legitimate business operations. It would give David cover and provide an additional witness to whatever happened at the meeting. What if he recognizes that I don't belong in that world? Vincent's ego is bigger than his caution. If he thinks there's money involved, he'll want to make an impression. Just let me do the talking. And if things go bad, get out fast. As they approached the Pittsburgh city limits, David's anxiety became more visible. He kept checking his phone, adjusting his rearview mirror, and running his hand through his hair. David, you don't have to do this. We could turn around right now. Take your family somewhere safe. Start over. David shook his head. I've been running from Vincent for 3 years. If I don't stop running now, I'll be running for the rest of my life. And so will Sophie. But Marcus was about to discover that David's courage came from a source more powerful than fear. They pulled into a parking garage 3 blocks from Vincent's restaurant, and David turned off the engine. For a moment, they sat in silence, both men processing what they were about to attempt. 3 months ago, Vincent asked me to do something that crossed a line I couldn't uncross. He wanted me to create false financial records that would frame an innocent man for embezzlement. A man with a family, kids, a whole life that would be destroyed. Marcus, can I tell you something? Something I haven't told anyone, not even Agent Collins. Marcus nodded. David's hands were shaking as he continued. I did it. I created those false records. And that man went to prison. His wife lost their house. His kids had to change schools. And his whole family fell apart. All because I was too scared to say no to Vincent. The guilt in David's voice was overwhelming.